Hello everyone, my name is Samuel Eswong and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to look at Kubernetes Ingress, and because so far we've looked at ports, we've seen deployments, and in our last video we looked at services. So now, if you have more than 10 services exposed, let's say via node ports or via load balancer, now there's a very big question. How do you manage access efficiently? All right. So this is the problem only services cannot solve. So we are going to look at ingress basics. We are going to look at ingress controllers. We are also going to look at ingress resource. And we are going to look at the path-based and host-based ingress routing. So before we continue, please, I will love us to subscribe to my channel, refer my channel to your friends, and of course drop a comment in the comment section and like this video. So in our last video we saw that, or in our service video, in our Kubernetes service video, we saw that node port exposes port on high numbers, or high ports rather. All right, and with a service of type load balancer, we are going to have one load balancer per service. And in the very long run, this becomes very expensive. All right, this becomes very expensive. And we cannot also do away with cluster IP because cluster IP is used for internal access only. So it cannot be reached from outside the cluster. So if we have 10 services, that's to say we'll have 10 different ports to remember. All right, and if we are exposing it through the load balancer, then we are going to have 10 different load balancers. That is 10 external IPs, and we all know how external IPs can be very expensive in the cloud. So this is exactly why Ingress exists. So you can look at Ingress as a single source of entry to your cluster. All right, so it is a single source of entry points that routes HTTP and HTTPS traffic. So it routes HTTP and HTTPS traffic to multiple services. All right, so you can think of it as a smart router or even a gateway in front of your services. Now, there are key concepts when it comes to ingress. So we have the ingress resource, and we also have the ingress controller. So let us take them one after the other. Number one, ingress controllers. So the ingress controllers is what actually implements the routing rules. So without a controller, you end up having nothing to route your traffic. All right, and we have popular ingress controllers like the Nginx ingress controller. We also have HA proxy ingress controller. We also have traffic ingress controller. And we also have, if we are dealing with the cloud also have its own native ingress controllers. All right. For instance, if we are dealing with AWS has AWS ALB ingress controller. So you can think as a controller as your smart router. So your controller runs as a deployment. When you install a controller or when you add a controller to your cluster, all right, the controller is going to do what is going to run as a deployment stroke pod inside the cluster. So it's going to handle routing. It can also handle TLS terminations, and of course, ingress controller will also handle load balancing. Now let us look at ingress resource. What is an ingress resource? Just like your deployment, your pod, your service, an ingress resource is also a Kubernetes object. All right. So the ingress resource is where you define rules for your traffic. And rules can be either path-based, rules can also be host-based. So to add both of them together, understand that without the ingress controllers, your ingress resource is not usable. Your ingress resource does nothing. So in cloud clusters, ingress usually provisions a load balancer automatically. Let us take note of this. When you are dealing with a cloud distribution, ingress usually provisions a load balancer automatically, but on local clusters, all right, on local clusters, you um, you might see empty external IP because there's no cloud load balancer. So there's always a workaround. So you can use it, you can either use a port, you can either port forward to the ingress controller to test routing. So we are also going to look at that. All right. So if you are on Minikube, so for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to use the Minikube local development cluster. All right. So if I do kubectl get nodes, I should have my Minikube cluster ready. All right. Now, there are different add-ons that comes with Minikube. And one of those add-ons is Nginx Ingress Controller. All right. So you can enable that add-on, and that add-on is going to act as your controller. Then from there, you can now write an ingress resource. So if I do Minikube add-on list, I should see some add-ons here. So I already have the ingress add-on enabled. All right. So for you to also enable the ingress add-on, you can simply do Minikube add-ons enable, then the add-on name ingress. So you give it some time, and Minikube is going to add the ingress controller to your cluster. So to verify, the ingress controller is going to create a namespace called the Nginx Ingress. All right. So if I do kubectl get namespace, I should have the ingress Nginx namespace. So remember, I said that the controller is going to do what? Is going to run as a deployment or pod in your cluster. All right. So let us try to do kubectl get ports in the Nginx Ingress namespace. So you can verify with me that my ingress controller is up and running. All right. So if you want to learn more about Ingress, again, you can use the Kubernetes documentation. All right. So this is a Kubernetes documentation on Ingress. You can read more on Ingress. This is how the Ingress works. All right. So this is a client. This is you. You are going to access this with a load balancer. Load balancer is going to do what? Forward traffic to the ingress controller, and the ingress controller, based on the routing rule, is going to forward traffic to the different services attached. All right. So again, the prerequisite to use an ingress resource is you must have an ingress controller to satisfy an ingress, because only creating an ingress resource has no effect. So just take your time, go through this documentation, and and work your way around it, play around it, and also do some examples around it. So this is a typical ingress resource. This is a typical ingress resource. So let us explain what this guy do. We'll start with the API version. All right. So the ingress resource belongs to the networking API group in Kubernetes. The kind of resource we are creating is ingress. Then, of course, the metadata on the metadata.name, this name is what our ingress resource is going to assume. So the most important thing here is the ingress spec, which is a spec. Now, the very first thing we have under spec is the spec.ingress class name. So in a typical cluster, you may have more than one ingress controller. All right. So the class name, it's simply telling Kubernetes the type of controller to use. How do we know the class name our ingress controller is attached to? So if we do kubectl get ingress class, all right. If we do kubectl get ingress class, we have just one controller. So that means the ingress class our nginx controller is attached to is the nginx class. All right. So that means if you have traffic controller is also going to be attached to another class. HA proxy will be attached to another class. So the spec.nginx class name is only telling nginx the controller to use. All right. Now the rules. For the rules, the first one is HTTP. Of course, our routing protocol is HTTP. All right. Now for the path. For the path, this is a path-based ingress resource. Remember that we have two basic types of ingress resource: the host-based and the path-based. So this is a path-based ingress resource. Now this is what I mean by path-based. Let's assume that I am using a domain, example.com. This is my root domain. And I have different microservices, let's say different services running in my cluster. I have a dashboard service. I have an authentication service. Then I also have, let's say, a payment service. Now, if I want to use the path-based ingress rule, all right, so I will simply do dashboard, or example.com rather, /dashboard. So this is a path-based rule. All right. I can also have example.com /authentication. Now, how does a host-based rule looks like? For a host-based rule, that means I am simply having my services as a subdomain. All right. Again, if my domain is example.com, all right, that means the dashboard service can become dashboard.example.com. Authentication service can become authentication.example.com. So this is a host-based rule, all right, and this is a path-based rule. So let us look at our ingress resource again. So for the path here, the path name here is test path. So that means you can change this to anything you want. This can actually refer to anything you want. This can be /dashboard, this can be /authentication, all right? And this is where the service is referenced to at the back end. So we have the service and the service name. All right, so that means if you want to access this service, the service name called test, then you have to access it through /test. All right, I can change this to /web. If I change this to /web, it simply means that I can only access this service when I do /web. So let us see how all of these things add together. So for us to fully experiment our ingress, all right, so I'm going to create a deployment. I'm going to create a service, all right. So I'm going to create two deployments. I'm going to create two services. Then, of course, I'm going to create ingress rules. So we are going to explore path-based and host-based. So I have a deployment here, all right, for an API service, a minimal API service, all right. And I also have a deployment, a very simple Nginx deployment. So I'll do kubectl -f or apply, sorry, -f API deployment. All right. So let me apply the API service. API service. So we apply the Nginx deployment. We also apply the Nginx service. So in the last video, we already saw how to write our deployment, and we also saw how to write a service, all right, or to create a service resource. So if you are still confused, please take your time to go through those videos before you begin to explore this particular video. So if I do kubectl get ports, I should see 4 deployments or four ports running. 2 for Nginx because I had 2 replica sets, and 2 for my API. I should also have 2 services. kubectl get service. So this is for the API service. Of course, the service type is cluster IP, and the Nginx service, the service type is cluster IP. All right. So let us take a look at our host-based ingress. So this is our host-based ingress. So I've taken my time to explain all this. All right. So this is the API version, and the kind is ingress. This is the name that my ingress resource is going to assume. All right. For the spec, I'm using the Nginx controller. We've seen how to get the ingress class. All right. So if I do kubectl get ingress class, you can see that my ingress class name for the Nginx controller is Nginx. So this is why I'm referencing the ingress class Nginx here. All right. So for my path base, all right, for the first host, which is under rules, I simply have web.myapp.local. So that means if I want to access the Nginx service, I will need to access it from web.myapp.local. All right. And of course, the port number is 80. If I also need to access the API service, all right, so I'll need to go through api.myapp.local. Now, if you are doing this for production, make sure that these are real domains and it is correctly mapped in your domain registrar. All right. If not, you will not be able to access this service. Now, but since this is a local environment, all right, I'm going to show us a workaround for your computer to assume that this host is resolvable. All right. So now let us go ahead to apply our ingress. So if I do kubectl apply -f host based ingress, all right, so our ingress resource should be created. So if I do kubectl get ingress, I should see that my resource has been created and it is mapped to web.myapp and also web.myapp.local and also api.myapp.local. And under the address tab, your load balancer or your cloud provider is going to give you a load balancer. So let us get ingress again. All right. So that means we can access this service from the Minikube IP address. All right. So if I copy web.myapp.local, if I try to access the Nginx service, we should not have anything just okay. All right. A second. Let me take this off. All right. So I'm going to open a private window for testing purpose. All right. But before then, this is what I want us to do. If you are using Linux, access your hosts, the list of your hosts on your local machine, so you can access them from /etc/hosts. All right. Then you can also add all right. So for the first one, I'll map the Minikube IP so that it's going to be resolved to the Minikube IP. When I try to access the web.myapp.local, all right, so it's going to be resolvable to the Minikube IP, all right. So remember that egress is going to also give you a load balancer. So it's acts as a single point of entry. So with this guy, you can access these two services here. So I'll also repeat 192.168.49.2. It should also be resolvable to api.myapp.local. All right, so I'll save, yes, and exit. So I can now go to my browser, all right, and type and try to access both services. So for the first one, okay, then we can also try to access the second service, which is api.myapp.local. All right, so we should give it a minute. Then you can use the call command, call http API dot my app dot local. All right, so I think this is not resolving. So let us check our host again. All right, so we made a mistake here. So this is supposed to be 192.168.49.2. All right, so we'll save this, Control O and X. Okay, so let us try again to all right, so we can now access our API service from this. All right, so now Ingress acts as a single point of entry for all your services. So even if you have 10 services, define them in your Ingress rules, all right, with the correct path. If it is host-based, make sure that host is correctly mapped in your domain registrar. So let us take a look at how path-based routing works. So we are still going to use the same deployment, all right, but different ingress resource. So I'll clear this out. So if we do nano path-based, so this is how our path-based rule looks like. So under the rule spec, all right, so we have just one host, which is my app.local, all right, and my app.local is the single point of entry, all right, and if it is accessed with /web, it is going to route the Nginx service. If it is accessed with /API, it is going to be routed to the API service. So let us apply this. So we do kubectl apply -f path. All right. So if I do kubectl get ingress, I should see that my host has been reconfigured to just my app.local. All right. So this is the load balancer which Minikube has created for us. So again, I'm going to add this so that it will be resolvable to the Minikube load balancer. All right. So can just edit this out since it is the same IP address. So I'll save this, all right, and exit. So if I do, I can try to access this. Let us try to access this over the internet. If I hit /API, should direct us to the API. So the same thing with the Nginx service. If you want to access the Nginx service, then you can change the slash to, or you can change the path to Nginx service. So now, so far, we have seen what the controller do. We have also seen how to write an ingress resource. We have also seen the difference between path and host-based routing. So You can try to deploy 2 to 3 services and also deploy an Nginx ingress controller. Create an ingress resource with path-based routing. You can switch to host-based routing if you want. All right. Then access the /etc /host on your local machine. All right. Then test traffic routing via the browser. And you can also use the call command. So guys, my mastering ingress is very crucial for production because ingress lets you route traffic efficiently, securely, and scalably. All right. So we are going to look at a very different topic in our next video. So thank you for staying up to this time. And if you have any question, you can drop it in the comment section and I will attend to all of it. So please, you can also share this video and like this video. All right. I'll see you in the next video.